Today's show is sponsored by Lear Capital, the precious metals leader since 1997 and only company I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and viewers. Visit LearAlex.com.
Ready to break the narrative? Get the real story with no filters and no apologies. Cut through the noise with real conversation, real conviction, and real news. It's time for Truth Without Spin. It's the Alex Marlow Show.
Yeah, it is. It is the Alex Marlow Show. We got a hot news day today for all of you. I'll give you some Iran war updates momentarily. I've got some updates on Sheridan Gorman and how the Democrats have completely lost their mind on immigration, illegal immigration in particular, but I'll start with a couple of quick notes on some domestic policy issues that are at the fore right now. We're looking at perhaps a Department of Homeland Security deal, which would open up the Department of Homeland Security again and straighten out what's going on at our airports, where people are reporting wait times of 4, even 5 hours to go on routine family trips for spring break, things like that. John Thune has put out a deal has been endorsed by Lindsey Graham and Katie Britt that Trump has rejected. This would have meant that the DHS would have been funded to a degree, but also ICE would have been funded in a reconciliation package yet to come. In Washington, generally speaking, when things are promised, they just don't come true. So if you don't get something done now, it might not ever get done. And he wants the SAVE Act as well, which is just not a part of it. And so Trump rejected that. So there was a moment last night where we were thinking maybe we'd have a deal to end this madness, but the madness continues. So we still will continue to see the TSA not funded, which means that ICE will be doing the work of TSA, which is very ironic here, because if you think about what's going on and you note that the whole point of the DHS shutdown is so that we don't fund ICE anymore. But ICE is so well funded that they have extra resources available that they can deploy to airports to help with the TSA. This just shows you the nature of what the Democrats are doing is all political. Every single thing they do is political, from their border policy to their war policy to their policy on whether or not you should have an ID to vote. All this is based off of politics. It's not based off of any meaningful principle other than victory and victory alone. Victory über alles. That's what it is. That's an adaptation of my friend Dennis Prager's quote, health über alles. I guess that's how Democrats used to be. But now it's political victory über alles, above all else. That's what they're all about. They're all about trying to win. President Trump is keenly aware of this. He had a very interesting quote yesterday from the White House that I want to share with you. This is cut 8, please, guys. Go ahead.
The thing I most respect about the Democrats, even on horrible policy, they stick together. What they do have, though, is horrible policy. Transgender for everyone, open borders, men and women's sports. They have the worst policy that you can imagine. And so whether they stick together or not, I mean, they have just this terrible policy. We have great policy. Republicans have great policy. We have common sense policy, but it's great policy. That's our biggest advantage, is our policy is correct.
Yeah, this is exactly right. And I think that this is part of what Trump understands that I think puts him head and shoulders above just about any other politician in America. And he respects it to a degree. I don't think he just respects it on the way you might respect a mentor or someone who's offered you guidance. He doesn't respect it the way you would respect, Aristotle or Thomas Jefferson. But he respects it in a way that this is a way for them to achieve victory, that they let their party be completely controlled. Their principles come from what assures us that we win, and that means they stick together on all manner of things, including illegal immigration, including no voter ID to vote, including whether or not we should deport illegal alien criminals. They can't even agree on that. The viral clip yesterday was Akeem Jeffries saying he wasn't sure if the illegal alien who presumably murdered Sheridan Gorman in Chicago, whether or not he should be deported. Akeem Jeffries not sure, doesn't have enough information. If he's an illegal alien, he should be deported, period. And if he's accused of murder because he got out for other crimes and was released by the Joe Biden administration, he should definitely be deported, according to any person with any standards at all. But the Democrats are very cautious because they don't want to cross one another, and this is how they achieve a political victory. And Republicans are the exact opposite. I saw a quote that kind of blew my mind today. This was on CNBC and Joe Kernan's show. Joe Kernan is, I think, sort of a right-coded anchor on CNBC. Mostly does the business news, but I think he's sort of one of us politically, at least to some degree. And he had on Senator Curtis, who's a Republican from Utah, as well as that little pencil neck Adam Schiff from California. Let's play cut 7, please, guys.
Anyone who's here illegally that hasn't committed a crime, Senator Curtis, should there be a path to citizenship? Is that what compassion means to you, or should these people not be allowed to stay?
Well, then let me ask you a question. Is there any law, any rule broken in our country where we don't have a consequence defined? So why don't we have a consequence defined when it comes to coming into this country without documentation? We continue to allow these people to be here, but we haven't defined what their consequence is.
What's your answer to that? I get, is
like
it
every
amnesty
other. So first of all, you have to define amnesty, but any other crime that's committed here in our country, we define what the punishment is, and we've failed to do that in this case.
Senator Schiff? I thought I'd be arguing with you, not Senator Curtis.
Unbelievable. We got a pencil neck Adam Schiff, one of the most horrendous people in all of American politics. A guy who, again, only principle is, can Democrats win? One of the biggest liars. He perpetrated the Russia hoax more than anyone else. He was the leading person on that. More than any other advocate for the fake Russia collusion nonsense that was completely fabricated by the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Hillary Clinton world, just to harass Donald Trump. John Curtis goes up there, stands next to him as if Schiff is serious, and is a Republican getting asked, depends on what the word amnesty means? What's your answer? Is it amnesty, Kernan says? First of all, you have to define amnesty. Amnesty is when you're free for committing crimes. You're given a get-out-of-jail-free card because of crimes you committed. You're allowed to stay here in the country if you're a legal alien despite your crimes. That's what it means. We all know what it means. But he wants to play word games because this is always the goal of wishy-washy establishment Republicans, is to continue to import new people, so that they can drive down the cost of labor, and they can drive up the cost of rents to benefit the landlords, and they can make it so that businesses' stocks can go up a few points because labor costs are down. That's exactly what has toxified so much the Republican Party. It's alienated much of the country to them. And we still got Republicans like that. And I just was thinking about that quote when Donald Trump comes out and says, the problem we got right now is we do not stick together, and the Democrats do. They stick together on all manner of nonsense, and we don't. And then we do things to shoot ourselves in the foot. I've been playing the Joe Kent stuff nonstop that he's been leaking against the president, it appears, or at least people in Kent's orbit. He's been trying to feed Candace Owens as she tries to destroy Charlie Kirk's organization and Charlie Kirk's family, attacking his wife. And then we got the situation at the prior iteration of DHS where Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski are now under investigation for a Department of Homeland Security, IG, launching a criminal investigation. And it makes sense. I don't know if they're going to be the bad guys in the end, but you got to look into this stuff. When you got these sweetheart deals, these no-bid contracts going out to people who are affiliated with Kristi Noem and her top-level employees, Department of Homeland Security, it's a terrible look for all of us. And we've got such headwinds because there are so many bummers going on. And I'll have an Iran war update for you when we come back from the break. But I'll tease this. Most Americans say that the U.S. military actions in Iran have gone too far, according to the Associated Press poll. So I note this because obviously Democrats are going to say that. Obviously people who are in the isolationist wing of Trump's party are going to say that. So we are playing with fire politically because we need to get stuff back on the rails. We need to get this war wrapped up. We get oil prices down. We need to get some stability going. And we need to start tackling some of these bread and butter issues, like, for example, making sure you can get through the airport, making sure that illegal alien criminals are not killing American citizens, particularly beautiful young girls. Really important that we get to that. We get focused. And we get focused right away if we want to have any hope in November. And I don't want to get doomer on you guys. I'm a very positive person in general. But if you want to rein in inflation, if you want to rein in currency devaluation, if you want to rein in the volatility of the markets that we got right now, we got to get focused on domestic issues. And that is why I got a partner in the space to help you, just in case this is your hedge. Lear Capital, my friends, sponsoring the show. Global financial crisis has become very common, as we know. It's been the norm for the last, decade just about. And that's why it's time for you to get educated, get fully informed about what's happening with the dollar. But our massive government money printing has ballooned our inflation and our debt, almost $40 trillion now, and it's going to continue. That's why you need partners. You need education. Lear Capital does that for you. They got free gold and silver guides that teach you how to manage your money in the volatile economy. I've used them personally. They've taught me a lot. I keep citing this, and I'll continue to cite this. Morgan Stanley's chief investment officer now recommending 20% in gold. That's a big change, and this is something you should consider yourself. If you're not doing it, you're not protecting yourself. They have a hotline, 800-992-2255, standing by right now. Take your calls, 800-992-2255. Get the free gold kit. Figure out what's going on. You could actually qualify for up to $20,000 in bonus gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's pretty cool. 800-992-2255, or you can go to learalex.com. Get more information. Let them show you all they know at Lear Capital.
Alex here for my friends at besthotgrill.com, who make the incredible Solaire infrared grills that heat up in just 3 minutes to searing heat and make the juiciest grilled food you've ever had. But don't take my word for it. Try before you buy with the Solaire Demo Rental Program. For only $47, you can use our infrared demo grill for 2 weekends and the week in between in the comfort of your backyard. Test its hot, fast performance and versatility with steak, chicken, fish, pork, veggies, and all the food your family enjoys. At the end of the demo, just wipe it off and put it in the box for a UPS pickup. Solaire makes it easy. Then you'll receive a coupon for $47 off any new Solaire infrared grill. The Solaire Demo Rental Program will convince you why Solaire is truly the last grill you'll ever buy. Learn more about the amazing USA-made Solaire infrared grills at besthotgrill.com. Solaire Demo Rental Program at besthotgrill.com.
Feeling good today. High energy. I think part of it is because I've been sleeping well, but maybe it's also because I carbo loaded yesterday with some pizza. You know, pizza's a real treat, and I had it. And I'll tell you, every time I have pizza, I'm washing it down with one of two beverages. It's Diet Coke or Diet Dr. Pepper. One or the other, my favorite drinks in the world. They're part of these iconic American brands that have told America's story for such a long time. For over 100 years, these brands have existed, and they create American jobs. Company behind these beverages, they've been walking the walk, creating revenue, creating funds, creating lifestyle for so many Americans. These are American products for American workers, and they're made in America's hometowns. They employ 275,000 people in the American beverage industry, all 50 states. People who show up every day, do the work, deliver for our economy and our communities. You should see what the American Beverage Association is up to. Go to wedeliverforamerica.org, wedeliverforamerica.org. I got to say, these drinks are miracles. They are, guys. They really are. Especially the sugar-free ones, in my view. All right, let's get back to the news. I got a text during the break. They want to hear me play the Larry Krasner clip that's going around. This is the Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner. He might be familiar to you guys as one of the famed far-left, Soros-funded rogue prosecutors, and now he's even in a bigger position of power, and a lot of his policies have favored criminals over citizens. They've led to higher crime rates in his jurisdictions, and he is a virulent anti-Trumper who goes even further than that. I would suggest what I'm about to play is evidence of a guy who wants an insurrection against the federal government. Let's play cut 10, please, guys.
This is how it works. You commit crimes within the jurisdiction that is the city and county of Philadelphia, I prosecute you. That is how it works. No, I don't take a phone call from the president saying let him go. No, the president cannot pardon you. I'll say it again. The president cannot pardon you. And yes, I will put you in handcuffs, and I will put you in a courtroom, and if necessary, I will put you in a jail cell. If you decide to make the terrazzo floor of this airport anything like what you did in the streets of Minneapolis, which involved the criminal homicide of unarmed, innocent people. We are not having that here.
He looks like an old-time gang member. I mean, that's exactly how gangsters are portrayed in the mob movies. It's just threatening people, threatening the government. is that we're going to make your life miserable. And then, of course, spinning the facts in Minneapolis, the 2 people who died were agitators interfering with ICE operations, trying to deport illegal alien criminals who were cracking down on a Somali fraud ring that the government was aware of and did nothing about in the local level. So this is what they view as the major threat to our country, is not the criminal illegal aliens, not the type of people who murdered Sheridan Gorman in Chicago. She walked in the middle of the street. They think the real threats are ICE agents who are trying to make it so that you don't have to wait in such a long security line. They think the threat are ICE agents who are trying to stop illegal aliens from going to the polls and voting. Really, it is just, there's just so little in common, it feels like, with the institutional left right now in this country. I mentioned Sheridan Gorman because I've been just becoming increasingly obsessed with this case, and how we all knew that America was starting to abandon our own citizens. And this young woman got murdered, shot in the head by an illegal alien. And I played the clip yesterday of the Chicago alder woman who suggested maybe she'd actually provoked the illegal alien mugger or would-be robber or rapist to kill her, to shoot her in the head while she walked in a park. Here's the governor of the state, J.B. Pritzker. Let's play cut 12, please, guys.
Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. They're national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst. And in my view, we have a lot of work that we need to continue to do, but it is the job of the federal government to go after immigration enforcement.
There are 2 things in there that I think are really important. Is that he literally suggests comprehensive immigration reform would have stopped the murder of Sheridan Gorman. That's amnesty. The same amnesty John Curtis wants. That's number 1. His suggestion that comprehensive immigration reform, amnesty for illegal aliens, would have been a solution here. The next thing he suggests, which I think is unbelievable and actually kind of interesting, is that ICE has not gone after the worst of the worst, kind of daring the Trump administration to do more. And I think he's right. I think we need more funding for ICE. I think ICE needs to do more. And remember, his Democrats will never fund ICE to a single penny. They will never spend another penny on ICE. So in Illinois, local law enforcement is prohibited from participating in federal immigration enforcement. That's what a sanctuary means. And this policy is specifically designed to protect illegal alien criminals at the expense of citizens. Chicago is their sanctuary laws. Their protections go even further than the state of Illinois. These guys have gone out of their way to protect illegal alien criminals, even if it means sacrificing young women like Sheridan Gorman. More when we come back on the Alex Marlow Show.
Today's episode is sponsored by American Beverage. Think for a minute about the drinks you grew up with and that you still love today. The ones you got to have at the barbecue or in the break room. We're talking Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, and Pepsi. These iconic brands are part of the American story, and they have been for over 100 years. With everyone talking about American jobs lately, the companies behind these beverages have been walking the walk the whole time. America's beverage companies are making American products with American workers in American hometowns. They employ over 275,000 men and women in all 50 states. These are people who show up every day, do the work, and deliver for our economy and our communities. See for yourself everything they're doing at wedeliverforamerica.org.
I'm going to read a quote to you. We don't want immigrants that are coming here illegally, draining us of resources and being prioritized above people that are actual, literal heroes that are still recovering from 20 years of endless war, or anybody else in our society. So we don't want immigrants coming here illegally, draining us of resources. Who would say this? Is it Kristi Noem? Was it Tom Homan? Was it Stephen Miller, perhaps? Was it yours truly? No, that was Hunter Biden. Not a joke. Hunter Biden said that. Even he was aware that his dad did us completely dirty when it comes to illegal aliens, opening up the borders and allowing the cartels to basically control our border. I've talked about on the show how James Tallarico suggested that our border should be a front porch. Yesterday, I played a clip of Chris Murphy, which was from 2024, so pretty recent, saying that illegal aliens are the people Democrats care about the most. And then we got J.B. Pritzker saying, you know what? We got this murder in Chicago. What should happen? We should get comprehensive immigration reform, which means amnesty for illegal aliens. Criminals are aware of where the sanctuary cities are. They know this. The illegal aliens know this. They target these areas. They target these citizens. And we've lost so much self-respect in some of our blue areas of this country that people don't want to do anything about it. And Pritzker said something really interesting. Maybe ICE is not doing enough. He says Trump has not gone after the worst of the worst. I think he has gone after them, but let's do more. Let's do more, however we can, to try to protect American citizens so we don't have to keep sacrificing people. And that's what we've seen with Sheridan Gorman. She was sacrificed on the altar of illegal immigration, which is a massive industry for Democrats. They care more about political agitators that were killed by law enforcement to protect Somali Leering Center operators in Minnesota than they do about this American young woman. And this is a sign that our society is losing respect for ourselves. And I'm trying to fight against the demoralization narrative that's not just coming from the left at this point in time. It's also coming from the sort of Tucker Carlson wing of the right. And what's happened with illegal aliens is that they've become the customers of the Democrat Party. Their unions, their aid organizations, the government jobs where you need to service different groups of people. They load up the school system, which was the cardinal sin in California. They ruined our school system with too many illegal aliens. Not because we don't want illegal alien not because we want illegal alien kids to suffer. We don't. They get brought here by their parents. We don't want them to be victims in all this. But it's very expensive and very challenging to educate people who don't know anything about the language and don't know anything about the culture. But it generates property taxes and sales taxes, and it lowers labor costs, and it creates more competition for housing. And a lot of people like this stuff. And you're treated like you're a noble person if you're a Democrat if you indulge this type of policy. So remember that migrants die by the thousands as well as the cartel shepherds them up through our front porch at our border, James Tallarico's front porch. So this is what Democrats are doing at this time, and it's deeply, deeply sick that this is happening. And they are not just content to deal with it, they're happy about it. They acknowledge it. They're willing to sacrifice a lot of our principles in order to make sure they win elections. Another one is the voter IDs. They don't want the SAVE Act. They don't want ICE at polling places trying to stop illegal aliens from voting. This was a clip from Chris Hayes. This is from yesterday on MS Now. He's one of their primetime anchors. Play cut 9, please, guys.
Trump is the obstacle. He is boycotting everything because he wants to get his SAVE Act, his voter suppression law passed, the one that he thinks will give him the power to basically rig the midterm elections in his favor.
So there it is. You're going to rig the midterm elections by forcing people to actually show an ID to vote. And it's not rigging the elections if you allow people who we don't really know exactly who they are or whether or not they're even here legally to vote. All right. I want to give you a war update, which I resisted starting with war updates. You know, they can be a little dry sometimes, some of the war updates. But I got to do it. It's important to fill you in what's going on. I mentioned that bummer AP poll showing that people are not inclined to watch this war go on very long. I spoke to one source who has a deep background in Navy, suggesting that it could be a few more weeks of minesweeping and aerial assaults before this thing wraps up. But Trump has teased that Iran has given him a really big gift. I'm not sure exactly what that is. He won't tell us, but he certainly has very confident body language. I continue to dig into the mines being added to the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf, and this is something that I'm deeply concerned about. And it seems like, I'm happy to report, maybe it wasn't quite as, potentially not quite as bad as what we saw yesterday. Yesterday, I was thinking maybe this is a massive escalation by Iran, showing that they're locked in. They feel confident that they can win. They could at least win a PR war long enough. They can get most of what they want in this. But as of right now, it seems like from the math that I'm getting from the sources that track this stuff for me at Breitbart News, that it is really probably a negotiating tactic. They're probably adding the mines. There's probably thousands already there, and they've added few enough where maybe this is just to prove that they can do it and create more problems, because they're probably aware that our demining capabilities, as I noted in the opening of yesterday's show, not super strong. So what it could be just sort of a token amount to use as a bargaining chip with Trump, maybe a Hail Mary to try to extend the war long enough where Trump feels pressure to take his foot off the gas. But we're actually starting to see some people come to our aid. We've got some news that Britain is in. Britain's going to help us out. We've been pressuring them at Breitbart News. I know the president has been disappointed with them as well. I ragged on them yesterday because they fell asleep at the switch on their demining capabilities, where they were supposedly the best in the world, and now they don't care at all. And again, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates very much would like to see the Iranian regime toppled. They've been strong allies in the region over the last few years since the Abraham Accords, so all that's there. So we're looking at that. Iran's probably got some Hail Marys they could still throw overall, but this is the potentially that there is a path here to get out of this thing in a matter of at least a few weeks. But apparently Iran is it's claiming that it's letting friendly oil tankers pass if they pay a $2 million toll. So it's hard to know exactly. Again, I'm not in the region and there's so much fog of war. But the bottom line is, if Iranian sea mines, they're not going to be deploying mines as they're allowing friendly tankers to pass. So it's got to be one or the other, and that encourages me that maybe they're ready to come to the table and start finishing this thing off with some sort of a negotiation. But we got the asymmetric warfare, which always is what people warn about. When there's asymmetric warfare in the region, it always makes you concerned that it's easy to have a righteous position, and it's harder to secure a lasting peace that makes the world a safer place. So the sweeping of these mines can be a massive job, a real pain in the butt, very time consuming, but it wasn't as many mines as I had feared initially yesterday. So I'm hoping it's just a bargaining chip, because Trump has laid out what he needs in order to feel like Iran he will take his foot off the gas. Number one is dismantling existing nuclear capabilities. And there's over a dozen demands that Trump laid out. He wants a commitment that they'll never pursue nuclear weapons. I like getting that in writing, because then that is a pretext to do more strategic bombing in the event that Trump does see more uranium enrichment. And then number three is there'll be no uranium enrichment at all in Iranian territory. So this is a big step up. It used to be, I think they would have tolerated a small level of uranium enrichment for civilian purposes, and now it seems like that's not going to be tolerated. So really, literally, and there's a quote of Trump saying this, priorities 1, 2, and 3 are no nukes, and that's what it is in his official demands. It's literally the top 3 priorities are no nuclear weapons. And again, this was the story of this attack and of this brief war that we've had, that I feel like I don't know why I was the only person pointing this out, it felt like, but this was all about nuclear weapons. Like, this is what this was all about. Nuclear weapons are a real threat. They're not a fake threat, and a lot of us want it to be a fake threat, but it's a very real threat when Iran is clearly pursuing high-level nuclear enrichment to a high grade, and they've said for decades they would like to use it on America and our allies. And just the dominoes of them even getting the nuke would be so complicated, because every other smart country in the world will want a nuke. If Iran has a nuke, if I'm any not nuclear power, I would want the nukes. So we got that going. Iran's got to hand over their stockpile of enriched uranium. That's another one. We have to dismantle the Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo nuclear facilities, the ones we bombed over the summer. The UN's nuclear watchdog needs full access to inspect. It's another one of the demands. Iran is to abandon its regional proxy paradigm. I'm guessing that is just stop funding terror in the region. I don't know the exact vocabulary, but that's what's in the demands. And then they have to stop funding regional proxies. Strait of Hormuz must remain open, function as a free maritime corridor. These are great demands by President Trump. Iran's missile program must be limited in both range and quantity. This is, again, all the stuff he laid out last time. This is all the stuff he laid out last year. So this is just, there's more steps here. But again, I gave you guys those 3 red lines that Trump drew: no nukes, no long-range ballistic missiles, no more funding of terror proxies in the region. This is all laying out exactly that. Maybe a little bit harsher now because they were naughty. Or cheeky, as they say in the UK. I think it means the same thing. All right, so Iran's missile program must be limited in both range and quantity, and with specific thresholds determined at a later stage. Any further use of missiles would be restricted to self-defense. So now here's what Iran would get in return: fully lifting of sanctions imposed by the international community. Good deal. They can do business. Trump is always going to default to this. You can always do business. The U.S. would assist Iran in advancing its civilian nuclear program. So if we keep an eye on it, you can do civilian stuff. So electricity generation, anything for medical stuff, that's fine. They'll let you do it if we can watch. And a snapback mechanism, this was new to me, which allows for automatic reimposition of sanctions if Iran fails to comply. It sounds like a good deal. Hope Iran takes it. Because if they don't take it, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Let's play cut 11, guys.
The air campaign that we've conducted, that Israel's conducted alongside us, was one for the history books, truly. And it's because we have a president of the United States that when he sends his warfighters out to fight, he unties their hands to actually go out and close with and destroy the enemy as viciously as possible from moment one. And that's why we see ourselves as part of this negotiation as well. We negotiate with bombs. You have a choice as we loiter over the top of Tehran, as the president talked about your future. The president has made it clear that you will not have a nuclear weapon. The War Department agrees. Our job is to ensure that.
Isn't that awesome? That they negotiate with bombs. It's just, you just wouldn't want that guy on the other side of the negotiating table from you. He's very clear-headed. He's been thinking about this stuff his whole life. And he's very much inclined to use bombs if and when that's necessary. And with Iran, you keep crossing red line after red line. And you're not negotiating at a reasonable level. All Trump wants to do is cut deals. He wants to make the world more prosperous so that, because he thinks prosperity will mean peace. He wants people building because he doesn't think they're fighting wars or they're building. Those are his principles. And if you can play along, you're going to be very fine. He'll work with just about anyone. All right. You guys know what this is all about. It's all about protecting the innocents, including our friends in Israel. We got the Passover season approaching. We want to remember God's deliverance, the night he brought his people out of bondage and into freedom. This year, many of God's people will observe in darkness under the shadow of war. Across Israel, red alert sirens are piercing the air. Families are running to shelters with seconds to spare. Elderly men and women fear they'll be left behind, and parents are forced to comfort their young children as explosions shake the night. Sleeplessness, uncertainty, this is all daily in Israel right now. Passover reminds us that God hears the cries of his people and answers with love and compassion. That's why the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground in Israel right now, providing food, emergency supplies, equipping bomb shelters, and caring for elderly Holocaust survivors. Just as his people once cried out for deliverance, vulnerable Israelis need your help today. Your most generous Passover gift shows that you stand with God's people. Rush a gift right now, 888-488-IFCJ. The number's 888-488-IFCJ, or go to ifcj.org. All right, I've been talking about this for a few months now. Why? Because it's important and it's helping me. It's a handheld red light therapy device for pain and inflammation called the Super Palm 1050. I use it right at home, and what I really like about it is it's actually working on my back and my knee, and no drugs, no invasion, and wow, have I generally noticed a difference. Okay, here's how it works. SunPower LED makes devices that deliver red and near infrared light energy directly into your cells, reduces pain and inflammation. The science is called photobiomodulation, or PBM, also known as red light therapy. You guys have heard about that. This isn't some trendy wellness fad, though. PBM has been researched around the world for decades. In fact, according to the PBM Foundation, over 100 million patient treatments have been performed without any documented side effects. The engineering is impressive, too. SunPower LED devices feature a patent-pending cooling system that lets you hold it closer to your skin, allowing deeper light penetration to reach your pain and inflammation. You can treat arthritis, knee pain, back, even tinnitus, joints, and more. The handheld Super Palm 1050 also creates what's called a wall of light. The LEDs project at a 90-degree angle, which eliminates hot spots and spreads light evenly over a wider area, making it 5 to 9 times more effective than many alternative technologies. These are medical-grade PBM devices you can use at home, and they're also used by dentists, chiropractors, physiotherapists, wellness centers, and even researchers studying PBM. If you want to learn more, check them out at sunpowerled.com. If you use the code Marlow, you get 10% off. Feel better, be better, treat your pain and inflammation at home just like I do. sunpowerled.com, use the code Marlow. All right, we got a terrific team on the show here on the Marlow Show. Greg Evan is our executive producer. Sean McConnell runs the board. Roger Wicker Jr., Rick Locke, Garrett Shawley, Matt Zibble, Brandon Couples, Misty Callahan, John Cassio, Daniel West all pitch in. How do we get such a big, beautiful team to help out on the show? All right, one thing that I've been thinking about that I think is really terrific that I've been underplaying on the show, was thinking about this, taking a walk with my kids earlier today. Think about how important it is that we are rebalancing the American media, which is taking place right now. And the fact of the matter is that the Ellison family, who is billionaires, and I don't trust them completely, but them taking over CBS, this is a big positive thing, because anything is superior to the far left establishment media, which really was the supervillain of my book, Breaking the News, my first book, New York Times bestseller. And one of the things about it is not just that it's liberal bias, it's really having the corporate status quo. And I was really pleased to see that their bid to take over Time Warner seems to be progressing, which I think is very interesting, because it's got a lot of the far lefty people on CNN freaked out. There's a woman named Kara Swisher, who is a tech journalist and also opines on CNN for, I guess she gets extra money to do that. And I thought this cut was pretty awesome. Let's play cut 5, please, guys.
It's interesting because they've been calling me. They've been very nice. They're like, hey, Kara, good show with Matt Bellany. They're doing a lot of friendly with me right now, which is like, too bad. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen for you, as I say. I don't think they'll be good owners. I don't. I think they've already shown several times, including editorial choices, which Scott knows more about than I, though I know a lot, Scott, that they have no interest in journalism. And I refuse to work for an organization that doesn't respect journalists. And so for me to stand up to say, I'm not working for you hacks, I'm just not doing it, and it's not worth it to me.
Great. And she doesn't need the money. She's got a podcast, she's got blogs, she's got other places where she can earn. But just know that we are really piercing their armor, even though I don't think that, Barry Weiss is some sort of great media genius or anything like that. I think she kind of recycles ideas that a lot of people in the conservative movement had 10 years ago and just uses those. She's the person who's in charge of CBS News these days. But I do think that the media industrial complex, where they're all members of the institutional left, all of the people who run the business, I think those are the ones who are ensuring that its left-wing bias stays, because it's really a pro-status quo, pro-corporatist, anti-MAGA, anti-establishment people, anti-populist. That's what's gone on in our media for so long, and it feels like we're finally getting some people who are piercing that. A couple other examples that I think are worth putting out is that noting that late night shows, this is all a brand that's going away as they get more political. This is another welcome thing. Vince Vaughn was talking about this. I think this was on the Rogan podcast. Was that where this was, or was this on Fox? Anyway, let's play this cut. Let's play cut 13, please, guys.
Podcasts have gotten so much more popular with less production, less writers, less staff.
Oh,
the reason why
we have two people working here, and both of them are hungover. And one guy has shingles.
But the place is clean. I like that. You keep a clean place.
Thank you. Yeah, we did a vacuum.
But yeah, because people want authenticity.
Yeah.
And I think that the talk shows, to a large part, became really agenda based.
Yeah.
They were going to evangelical people to what they thought. You know what I mean? And so people just rejected it because it didn't feel authentic. It felt like they had an agenda. And it stopped being funny, and it started feeling like I was in a class I didn't want to take.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
I'm getting scolded. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Brilliant summary. That's exactly what it is. It's a brilliant summary and that was a Theo Von podcast, not the Rogan podcast, another popular podcast. And that's the whole point. The authenticity is in, and the corporate top-down approach to media is out. And it's going to create some more upheaval, which I'm really welcoming. The View has announced they're not going to be able to have politicians on because Brendan Carr's FCC is going to enforce that you got to give equal time to various competitors. I have a clip. I'm going to run out of time, so I won't be able to play it. But Anna Navarro, who's one of the hosts there, also employed by CNN, talking about how people are going to celebrate when Donald Trump dies. And this is what they use for their broadcast. This is what is on government-sanctioned airwaves. Keep in mind, very few of those networks actually get government sanction, where a government effectually blesses that this content is on the air. And they've used it as propaganda arms for the Democrat Party and for far left radical ideas, like people ought to celebrate or make it comfortable for people to celebrate the death of an American president, because they hate this man so much. They hate us so much. And the most important point I can leave you with is they hate you so much. They hate all of you. They want all of you to suffer. They want all of you debanked and canceled. And that's why we got to get very tough. Let's do it with a smile. Let's get very tough. Let's get lock in together. And let's make sure that we're really focused here. Never lose another election. That's today's message. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Thanks for watching and listening.